Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. here. Thank you for coming to see my video to flex that I finally own 4 copies of Miss Phantasm Pirate King Nightrose. I'm really happy that I get to do a 6th video on this deck. I'm really happy, thanks to my friend who actually helped me buy these from Yokohama. I'm really glad to be able to finally own 4 copies of SP Miss Phantasm and what? Oh, sorry. I need to talk about better Stoicheia deck? Seriously? Alright. Here we go. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. here. Today I am back to cover Pining Flower Maiden Claudine in DivineZ. Now, I know I've talked about Stoicheia a lot for this set, and honestly, it's for a good reason. The reason is very simple, and that is Stoicheia this set is probably the biggest winner in my opinion. A lot of decks that you have completely forgotten about in Stoicheia have gotten very relevant support. And one of these is Claudine. Claudine, for those of you who don't remember her, she was the promo boss for a previous Monday Bushiroad, if I'm not mistaken. But she's actually gotten quite a fair bit of support because of where she lies. She's indirectly both a order deck and a plant token deck. So you can actually combine the two supports together really well to give you some really devastating outcomes. Not only that though, she also recently got one card in DZ 5 which is this guy. And he's actually one of the most busted commons of the entire year, in my honest opinion. Hell, he's probably one of the most busted commons in Vanguard's history, if you look at what he does for this deck. So because of that, I'm going to spend the time to actually talk about it, because I feel it's really interesting that a singular common card can change the entire scales of a probably tier 23 deck into something I would dare say is probably playable at competitive level. So again, I'm going to cover this video. Links in the description for the previous Claudine deck profile. I believe I did it in DBT 12, but you can check that out if you're curious on how I did it last year. This year will be on DivineZ, so as usual, my DivineZ Explained video will be in the link in the description. Once we finish DZ 5, I will no longer be linking my DivineZ Explained video. So yeah, I just want to get it out of the way so that we never have to keep repeating this over and over. After this, I'm not linking anymore. I will still link also. Links in the description for my Nightrose encyclopedia. One, because I spent a lot of time on it. Two, is because a lot of the basics from that article, specifically on the deck building segment, is very applicable here. A lot of the cards that you see in this deck is based on that article, especially for stuff like generic open Stoicheia and all the orders and certain tech picks I do. It's all based on that. So in case you feel a bit lost or you like a better explanation than the shit I throw on the camera, please check the link in the description. Thank you. Alright, so let's get started for the right deck. The right deck and energy, it's Zoga's right deck from DBT01, the very first set. Energy, as you already know, is based on the energy crest, so DivineZ Explained video, yada yada yada. Our starter, we play Lianon starter. We play Lianon starter for a very easy reason. Most people play Roa starter, so this is like the best way to bait people to thinking, oh phew, he's not competitive, and then you kill him. But the other cool news is that realistically you can play any starter you want. You can play the banana, you can even play freaking Grenache. I think it's really fine. Any starter works here. You can play the Abyss Slurper. Any Stoicheia starter really is okay here. Our grade 1 is the Faithful Old Rancor Chain. Rancor Chain, you Soul Blast 1. You draw 2 cards and then you choose an order card from your hand and discard it. If not, you have to discard 2 cards from your hand. So it's a Pot of Greed. Don't know what it means, let me know in the description below, and then you have to discard an order. And that's very easy because it is that you want to have your orders in your drop and later in your bind. It works somewhat like Zorga Nadir, but not really. But Rancor Chain is the best right now in my opinion because you can start off with a lot of orders, which this deck has, and then you can discard it and draw more and din through the deck. And then if you want a toolbox for turn 2, you have Black Tears Heartless Dragon, who on place you can choose an order card from your drop zone and then back to your hand. So in this way you get to kind of choose what you want to play at that point in time for your turn 2. Some orders are better than others, so use your discretion when doing so. Your turn 3 Vanguard, and the boss of this deck is Pining Flower Maiden Claudine. This is the original print of Claudine, but there has been a few foil printings and even an FFR if I'm not mistaken. So realistically, if you want to play a higher variety, you can go ahead. I just picked this one because it's easier for the camera to pick up. Claudine has 3 effects. The first effect is you can retire 3 of your own rear guards, and your Vanguard gets the passive skill, then during your turn, your plant tokens gain additional 5,000 power. Now, anyone with a brain will tell you -3 for a plus 5k bonus is really bad. But when you read the rest of the skills, you understand that it's a lot better than you think. It's kind of like a Blossoming Buds built into your Vanguard. Blossoming Buds is this order. Again, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, please check the Nightrose Encyclopedia. I guarantee you it's worth your time. Blossoming Buds is an order that also gives your rear guards a passive for your plant tokens, and Claudine is no different. So it's interesting that they give you a built-in one, albeit it's a -3, but not really. We'll get to that. The second skill is you can bind an order from your drop, and you can summon 2 plant tokens. Both of these X skills are both once per turn, so you kind of have to time it. And this is the main way Claudine bridges the order with the plant token. So all of your orders that you play, yeah, you can actually start binding them to turn them into plant tokens, which Zorga must be fuming right now, man. And the third skill is when he's doing attack Soul Blast 1. You can choose one of your plant tokens and stand it, and it gets 5,000 power for each pair of orders in your drop and bind zone. Let me just check to make sure I actually have the correct phrasing, because I believe, yeah. So for every 2 order cards with different card names in total in your drop and bind zone, your plant token that you stand gains 5. So you turn one guy, your 1 plant token in your front row, into the biggest, fattest boy on the planet and choke your opponent to death. Now, it gains 5 for every 2, so in totality, in our deck list later, you'll see we play a total of 11. Just for, net minus, plus minus in case things go wrong. We'll go through the picks in a bit, but this basically tells you that you want to actually accumulate your orders in your drop and bind even faster than Zorga Nadir. So again, I'm using this segment to kind of lay the stage for you, just so we're all clear on what the deck is supposed to do. Because, Claudine is a deck that's really technical in terms of deck building, but playing it really stupidly easy, which is why I really wanted to cover it in a deck profile and not a deck discussion. Moving on to our grade 3s. Our grade 3s, we keep it really light. It's just Floor Claudine, 3 in the right deck. This is because, as I mentioned, Claudine will stand one of your front row plant tokens, so it's pretty much your go ahead that, you want a persona, you want a multi-attack. And I think that's really worth it. Although, given that you play a lot of orders in this deck, it may be a problem for some players who don't know how to really use your shield wisely. So, just a warning note that you do have a lot of shieldless cards in this deck, yeah. But, not to worry, I will never recommend you a deck without helping you out. Your grade 2s will be Black Tears Hush Dragon, 4 copies of Friendly Broccoli, and then 4 copies of Shadowcall. Okay, so that is your grade 2s. Again, some people will be screaming saying, Ahmed, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? It's a black dog. Yes, it's a black dog. This is Shadow Cloak. Shadow Cloak is a support from Zorga from DBTO3. So, yeah, for those of you who used to play Zorga, hello. Thank you for coming. The skills you need to pay attention to is really the words that don't involve alchemagic. So I'll read you the skills in terms of what's necessary for Claudine. The skill for the first one is when placed on the Vanguard circle from hand, choose a order card from your deck that does not have a card the same name in the drop and mill it. So it's basically Columbard mill, but it's only for an order that you don't currently have in the drop. That way though, if you notice, we actually play all our orders with different names because it's basically Order Highlander. So basically every Shadow Cloak that you get to use, you get to put 1 order in the drop, which is nice. Although it is a 10k vanilla, it doesn't really matter. The second skill is that, when you play an order, you can Soul Blast 1, this unit gains 5,000 power. You don't get to use the Alchemagic skill because you don't have Alchemagic. But I guess it's nice to have a 15k beater when you play an order. You can use both skills from turn 2, so it's nice. Shadow Cloak is a card that used to be like, 4,000 yen, 5,000 yen, but he's really faded off for some, or if not most people. Shadow Cloak is still definitely, in my opinion, the strongest direct support for Claudine because he really plays into the order synergy so well, because that's what old Zorga used to be based on, right? So yeah, all in all, if you're playing Claudine, this is probably the most expensive card in the deck, but I think it's cheaper now, so it's not that bad. The other card that's also pretty pricey to some people, but I absolutely believe is worth it, is Friendly Broccoli. If Shadow Cloak is the king of orders, Broccoli is the king of plant tokens, and you'll understand why. When placed on the Vanguard circle from hand, again, you can, if you have a plant token in Vanguard circle, counterblast 1, draw 1. Sounds very familiar to a lifelong friend, doesn't it? It's almost as if I've talked about this guy on my channel already. Oh boy. But yeah, having a guy do the Vibatsuka stuff for, you know, for Claudine is pretty good. So I'm really glad that I managed to get the chance to even put him in the deck profile, because I did try this in Nightrose before, so I definitely know what I'm talking about. It's really good to have a guy that's really fat and really fast. And why do I say he's fat? Is because on your Vanguard circle or Guardian circle, if you have a plant token, it gains 5,000 power or 5,000 shield. In this way, it is not only a 10k intercept or shield, which, you know, is nice given the fact that you have a lot of shieldless cards in your deck. It also ensures that both your grade 2s can become 15k attackers when needed, which, you know, is really good for an early aggression, given that you use plant tokens for early aggression. So this is yet again another way to do it. Given that altogether, I would say that both grade 2s cover each other really nicely. One is for plant tokens and one is for orders. It's really fitting given that Claudine is a fusion of both mechanics. So definitely play both, in my opinion. I don't think you really need to consider other grade 2s. I think with these two alone, you generally cover most of the deck. Our grade 1s, obviously, we still have Mr. Rancor Chain. He's back, boys. He's back from the dead. But we also have other cards as well here. We play 4 copies of Horror Mushroom, who is, again, please check the links in the description below. He's the main plant token generator for the early game. He's the main early rusher. He's the main everything. This guy is insane. Gives you soul, gives you resources, gives you power, everything you need. But today we are here to talk about even more busted card, and that is Garlic. So Garlic is from DZBT05. So yeah, he's pretty new. But Garlic is quite insane, and I'll tell you why he's so fanatical about it. On the Vanguard circle skill, during the battle in which this boosts a plant token, it gains 5,000 power for each plant token you have. So as a booster by himself, if you have about 1 plant token, he gains 5,000 power. If you have 2, he gains 10k, right? And this is a scaling skill, which means if you have 4 other plant tokens, he's going to get 20,000 power. Yeah, and there's no grade restriction, by the way. There's no grade restriction. So that means on turn 1, if you just use, 1 copy of Horror Mushroom and you get 2 of your plant tokens, you get an 18k booster for absolutely free, no cost, an 18k booster. Do you know how many cards that threatens out of your opponent's hand? Do you understand that you can actually kill Raziel with this? Like, it's so insane, man. And the second skill is, and this is where it's direct Claudine support, which is when one of your plant tokens in the same column as this unit stands, stand this unit. So he's Frog Raider. They printed a 28k booster Frog Raider for Claudine. Like, that means when Claudine uses a skill to stand one of the plant tokens and gives the plant token, I don't know, 10k, 15k, your 28k booster gets to restand as well. Yeah, it's so insane, man, so insane. But yeah, this is the reason why I wanted to cover this deck today. Like, look, this is stupid, man. Honestly, if we weren't living in Raziel hell, I would want this band. Like, this is so good. Of a common, look at this, no cost on the card, no cost at all, and it's a common. So you could pick this up for like 5 yen, and this is the amount of shit you get to do for 5 yen. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Good job, the design team. Once again, you have blown it out of the park. I have no idea how you managed to design a card this busted. Good job. And of course, for Perfect Guards, we need to play Elementarian Sanctitude because it's a blitz order, and that will help me tide over to my other section. Again, any of the Perfect Guards work, it doesn't really matter. And then for our order section, we play 1 Blossoming Buds, 1 copy of Effervescent Shadow Blade. This is a new one from DZBT01, so I do recommend you pick it up because it allows you to double play one of your blitz orders per turn for 2 energy. No, that's fine. But since you know I've already covered it, Orange Rangerine. Rangerine is a very simple order. It's just CB1 called 2 plant tokens. So basically it's another way for you to get more tokens. We play 1 copies of Tears Dry Up in the Smell of Rain. This one is just your opponent chooses one of their own rear guards and retire it. And then after that, yeah, you just choose one of your rear guards and call it. Yeah, so cool. It's the same grade. You have to call a card with the same grade. So all right, this is Wreaths of Awakening. This one is a CB1. You open the top 5 cards of your deck, choose a card with the same grade as your Vanguard, add it to your hand. The rest mill off. Alright, you don't really need to use this one, but it's nice for a different name. War Intelligence from our days of Magnolia, if you remember her. You CB1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose one from among them, call it to your rear guard circle, and then you put the rest in the drop zone. The other skill doesn't matter because they're not Magnolia. You don't really need to use this one. It's just another name, but it's fine. This one is this is Tearful Malice. Tearful Malice is retired 2 of your rear guards. Draw a card, put this card to soul, and counter charge 1. This one gives you nice resources, but with the deficit you accumulate, I don't really think this is worth it. Again, it's not bad to have it on standby, but you don't really need to use it. Resentment, as you know from my Nightrose encyclopedia, please check the links in the description. I will not repeat myself again. Is really busted with Horror Mushroom because it ensures you can open a very devastating 10k column on both sides on turn 1. But other than that, Resentment is one of the easiest ways to just resurrect one of your own rear guards, so I really don't think there's an argument against Resentment. Let me know in the comment section below if you don't like this card. One copy of this is a Commandment over Death's Restraint. Death's Restraint is very simple. You look at the top card of your deck, you can mill it, choose a card from your drop zone that's the same grade as your Vanguard. If it's an order, add it back to your hand. If it's a unit card, call it to rear guard circle. Basically, this is kind of Greed Shade Light. It lets you toolbox your drop for orders, not your bind, but it also lets you resurrect 1. It's net 0, so it's not exactly the best, but I would definitely say that Commandment over Death's Restraint is a card you need to play at least 1 off in Claudine because of how much orders you can actually toolbox. For our Blitz orders, 2 more that we play is this is Wine. One is Wine and one is Honey Garden. Honey Garden is a Soul Blast 1 for a 15k shield, and if you hit a requirement, you get another 10k shield. I believe if you've taken damage, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. The other one is another one that you draw a card, and for every order zone with a different, for every order with a different name, if you draw and bind, it's a 5k shield each. So that means the more orders you accumulate, Wine will give you like 25, 35, 45k shield and a net 0 draw. Again, it's for Soul Blast, so it's a bit expensive, but Wine is definitely one of the best defensive options. With the amount of Blitz order you do play, it does emphasize on why you absolutely do need to pick up Shadow Blade for this deck, because Shadow Blade lets you play 2 Blitz orders so that it helps out a lot. And because Claudine doesn't really matter whether it's orders or Blitz orders that you play, it's nice. So in a weird way, Claudine has found a way to mix Blitz orders, and plant tokens in the same deck. It's incredible. So definitely pick this one up. It's really good. And last but very much not least, our grade zeros. We play our starter, as we mentioned earlier, so you should remember who she is. We play an Overtrigger. Frankly, any Overtrigger works. We play 8 crits because we want to kill people, yo. We play 4 heals, we want to stay alive. Then I have 3 blanks. The 3 blanks can be either effect fronts or effect draws. Honestly, I don't think I can recommend one over the other for Claudine because both work really well with her. If you prefer more aggression, definitely pick the fronts. If you prefer to try and stay alive, the draws work as well. Either way, I don't think either of them are polarizing enough that I have to recommend one over the other. I think either option works, and I do get to flex this really nice sleeve of Tokoha from 0. And that will cover up my Claudine deck profile for DivineZ. Honestly though, this is a deck that I was really excited to cover when I saw the COTD and then they unveiled this guy, and I was like, oh, this is definitely a deck I have to cover in the future, and I'm glad I did. Honestly, Claudine is really fun playing it. It uses a lot of the generic open Stoi nonsense that you know for the early game, and then it bridges it into a very beautiful turn 3 beatdown that even is better than Grand Fear in my honest opinion. Honestly though, Claudine is a deck you should watch out for if your opponents tend to be, poor people, because this is a deck that's actually really affordable, and for its price point, it's quite insane. This deck definitely is not the Vanguard killer you imagine it to be, but I would imagine that any opponent who doesn't exactly play a tier 1 or 1.5 deck can easily lose to Claudine. The aggression, the numbers, the defense, everything in this deck is nothing to scoff at. So really, hats off again to the people who designed DivineZ, because you somehow managed to make one common enough to resurrect an entire deck from the dead. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.